What's up, mxxnlightfinn here, hanging out at Generation Now Haste and Hustle with my boy Arthur Solano. Welcome.
Welcome to our vlogs.
Welcome to our vlogs. Oh boy, so far it's only like 10:45 and I'm already feeling so hyped, so motivated. I almost just want to leave and go and work, but but you know, we can't do that. We still gotta see our man Gary V, man. And guess who else is here? This guy looking good, fresh. What up, Joe?
Here's a little bit on what's happened since then. So I started a podcast a year ago, exactly 11 months ago today. And the goal of the podcast, it was called 20 Under 20s, was to help educate and inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs and leaders. So I didn't have anyone to interview. As I'm sure many of you know, if you're 16 or 17 and you reach out to a bunch of people saying, will you talk to me, come on my podcast, most likely the answer is no. So I just cold emailed, and that's what I'm trying to portray to you guys. If I can do and start a podcast in under 11 months, any of you guys can do the same. So I started cold emailing. I sent around 350 cold emails a day, every day for 4 months to get people on my show.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
That is because there's nothing preventing any of you from sending cold emails. There's nothing preventing you from going for it. It's just that 99% of the time, you think you have the idea, and then that's where it ends. And you need to be that 1% that says, I like this idea, and why don't I try it out? There's nothing to lose.
5 core tactics that you can take and put into action. So number 1, this should be obvious by now. Think mobile first, because most people are consuming your content on a mobile device. Mobile now accounts for 70% of all digital media usage, and 80% of social media usage is on a mobile device. So let's say you're creating video assets, which you should be. At the bare minimum, you should be thinking of an aspect ratio of 1:1, that's the one in the middle. But really, to get the most out of it, you should be thinking vertical, that's the one on the right. Look how much more impactful it is, how much more real estate you take up. It looks like you're FaceTiming somebody. Look how lame the one on the left look. People are creating content on their desktop, not thinking about how it's actually going to be consumed. They sacrifice the mobile experience for the desktop when it should be the other way around.
So first of all, I thought that we can't survive if we try and play that, or continue to try and play that game. So then I looked at tennis and said, hey, what if we stayed in our lane and specialized again and earn a position as a specialist, after which we can then generalize again and diversify. So when I looked at the competition as a tennis brand, the competitive set became easier to deal with. But K-Swiss is actually an old heritage brand, and there's a lot of benefits to heritage and history and authenticity that some of these brands don't have if they make modern tennis rackets. So when you look at heritage tennis, the competitive set shrank again, and you're left with these 3 brands. Lacoste is French, the tone and the voice of Lacoste is French. Fred Perry, very English, the tone and the voice is very English. And K-Swiss is an American brand, founded in California. So when you say, okay, what about a heritage American tennis brand? It's just us. And that is a really simple exercise that led us to a position that says K-Swiss is the only heritage American tennis brand. And all of a sudden you've gone from being a small brand that's going to get killed by the competition to having a window or a position that's ownable and that you can mean something to somebody. So this is a simple exercise that I call the only exercise. So can you answer for your brand or your client's brands the only exercise? Brand X is the only something. And if you can't, keep working on it, keep going back until you can come back and say, okay, I'm the only something, because then you've got something unique to offer. And you always want to put yourself in a position where you can win.
Never better, man. Right there.
Oh, that's we got a little photo bomber. Okay, we've got a spotting. We've spotted the man. He's out here. Oh my goodness. Look at him. He's right in there. I don't think I'm gonna be able to focus it. Oh my God, there he is. He's in there doing his thing, man. So close, on the short bus. Ooh, the short bus is tall today. I don't know what to say about that. But it's Gary V, you know? That's sick.
You can see the already
Hey! There's the man.
What a legend.
Can't wait to see you, Gary.
Thank you, brother.
Sorry, brother. So, we just got to see the man himself walk out of a bus and go inside. He was doing a little interview on the short bus, and you know, he was there taking he took like a 20-second little break to take photos at the back of the bus, and I was like, yo, can't wait to see you talk, Gary. And guess what? He was like, thanks, brother. So basically we're chill now. We're friends.
You're siblings.
We're brothers. Yeah, we're chill. I know Gary V. Oh, and he is coming up next. So stoked to see him talk.
The point of it is to enable billions of people on the planet to have free service. And I said, no, you can't do that. We don't want you to give that to the world. We want to make more money from it. Does this sound familiar? Is that what the banks are trying to do with the blockchain? Saying, no, guys, it's not for crypto. It's for us to make more money. So the community got together, and you know, my first node was in Korea, my second node was in Japan, and now there's hundreds of thousands of nodes providing service to over 1 billion people every day. Anyone here paid for their VoIP call today? Not a single hand. There's like 3,000 people here. Not a single hand, right? Well, think about the same thing with money. Think if you could basically do everything you wanted with your money and not having to pay anything for it. That's a promise of crypto, and that is the promise of the blockchain. So when we talk about MOIP, or money over IP, that's what it's all about. So I wish this was my quote, but somebody much richer and much smarter than me said this, right? The world needs banking, but it does not need banks. Anyone here does not use banks? We all have to, right? We don't have a choice. And the banks got bigger and stronger because we allowed them to become bigger and stronger. If we had an alternative, we took all of our hard-earned money and put it somewhere else, somewhere in a wallet or something that actually did something for me, that did something in my best interest, that protected me, that thought about me, right? Alexa does more thinking about you than your bank.
Toronto, thank you for having me. Thank you for the warm welcome. There's a lot of things we can cover. We decided to do a ton of Q&A, so I've only got a short period of time here to kind of spit it. And so what I'm going to really focus on in this kind of moment is going to piggyback off the last presentation, which is a lot of this is about mindset and overall strategy of how you're navigating your life and your business life and your personal life. This is just about, do you see what's happening or don't you? Do you understand how this plays out in the macro, or are you too consumed with the things that are in front of you in the short term? It's really hard to project blockchains impact on our society if you're just caught up in the headlines of Bitcoin, right? And so for me, as I navigate my life and think about why things have worked for me, is I go under one very basic assumption, which is, as long as I stay alive, it's always better to think long-term than short-term. And the other thing that runs in parallel to that strategy is my inability to allow one of your opinions to matter more to me than my own opinion about myself. Not because I think I'm great or special, it's just that I think you suck at shit too. So, for me, the themes of what's been happening, why entrepreneurship has been put on a pedestal and is popular, what's happening with the internet at its maturity, the fact that there's so many phones being held up right now, all these different things that are happening, what does it really mean? What it means is there's a group of people, a small percentage of people, that navigate their life decisions from a place of confidence and emotional stability and think in terms of legacy and impact and things in the long game. And there's a group of people that think about insecurities, needing to buy things to cover up their insecurities, so they need cash in the short term because a pair of Supremes or a BMW is going to close the gap of their insecurity. And then there's the in-between. And so for me, I'm very focused on the fact that the stuff that I believe in seemed like a fairy tale or bullshit just 30 years ago because the internet didn't exist. For all the youngsters that I see in the audience, they don't understand the world pre-internet. They don't understand a world pre-smartphone. I'm fucking old. I remember I was 18 before I ever spent 24 hours on a computer in my lifetime. I know what the world looked like. It wasn't practical to have debt and work your 9 to 7 and then come home and make something of yourself. I struggle to complain about anything in a world that is this special. You can decide to look at something narrow and decide something sucks or you have a shortcoming, or you can understand the macro and let's call it very simply what it is because it's truth. This is the greatest moment to be alive in the history of the human race. Marketplace, make yourself $500 by sweating a little bit and then run ads.
Nice, guys. Okay, let's take some questions.
Guys, don't wine. They're not, guys, I used to own the word wine for 5 cents a click on Google. I owned it. It was 5 cents a click. It's not 5 cents a click anymore. You know why? It's not 2001 anymore, and you guys know what the fuck Google is. Like, it's underpriced ads right now. Take advantage of it, because it won't be. I don't know what else to tell you.
Do you have a favorite placement right now?
You mean?
In terms of like, you know, you can advertise on Instagram stories, you can do right side column, news feed. Do you have a favorite placement?
It's just feed, because that's where people see stuff. More importantly, I want to make sure you also understand the difference between brand and sales. A lot of you are struggling because you just want to sell, and all you're doing is throwing the right hook, and maybe somebody doesn't want your piece of shit $400 ebook.
Okay, let's get a question from this side of the room here.
Hey, Gary. And I'm going to share with you the 5 principles to be a successful human. Number 1 is relationships. Harvard recently conducted a study that proved that there's a direct correlation between the quality of your relationships and the level of joy and happiness in your life. See, I didn't accept myself. For many years, I didn't love myself for who I was and who I wasn't. And I was spending money that I didn't have to buy things I didn't need to impress people I didn't like. So at 40, yeah, it's no surprise why I was broke. Well, I was spending money like that to make this little guy feel better about himself. Because he didn't get picked to play soccer or baseball or football, I felt that I needed to do whatever I could to make this guy inside of me feel better. Now, when this 8-year-old and I had a conversation, I realized it's because of him that I've been living this life. I said to him, look, it's okay. You're accepted. You're loved and respected by many, and it's okay now. And in a minute, I was able to let go of the things that didn't serve me anymore. I wasn't wasting time or energy and money on things that I just didn't need in my life. And it was amazing to just be free of that.
Years ago, after hearing the phrase thousands of times, I made a personal rule for myself that I would never respond back to somebody who just wants to touch base with me. These words combined form the most useless statement that can be regurgitated from a sales professional's mouth. And why? What does it translate to me? After listening to his voicemail a few times and rereading his email, it occurred to me that at some point in his sales career, some misguided supervisor or trainer or mentor told him that he should be frequently calling his prospects to keep his network warm, but forgot to mention that he should be doing this by adding value. I do agree that staying in front of your sales prospects is vitally important to your long-term success in sales. However, your time and your energy is a precious resource, as is theirs. So then when you do take the time to invest in follow-up phone calls and emails, give yourself a very specific reason as to why your prospect will want to respond back to you and move the relationship forward. Call often, but call with value. 90% of people in our industry, 90% of sales professionals call because they were told they were supposed to. However, the top 10%, the true superstars and the hustlers of our industry, always call with purpose.
But let's just say this. Imagine you didn't even know anything, right? Like you're brain dead like I am pretty much. Like I, 5 months ago, got into cryptocurrency after like all my friends were like, Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. I was like, isn't that the gaming thing that we heard like 4 years ago or something? And I made a post on LinkedIn trying to get my audience at that time to explain to me what Bitcoin was all about. The only discretion when you have informative content on LinkedIn is being 100% honest with what you know, what you're capable of talking about. And I love that Gary talked about that he only talks about things that he actually knows or has experience in. But even if you don't, starting discussion questions like, hey guys, someone teach me about Bitcoin in the comments below can drive great traffic and get a great conversation going on LinkedIn. The only disclaimer, you're gonna have to admit you don't know that much. So if you have a bit of an ego, probably not for you. Second, inspirational content. Now I don't mean the believe in yourself or like taking a Tony Robbins quote and just copy, paste, boom, done, inspiration. Haha. No. What I do mean is viewing your LinkedIn profile, your account as a way to network with other people. Think about it. You have the ability to make a post of maybe 1,200 characters long. When you go on there, so taking a selfie of your dog and just posting it and being like, look, we're so happy on a Sunday morning. Why don't you take some time to even talk to the person you're sitting beside today and interview them, profile them, take their story, and establish a relationship with them by providing upfront value to them. That's literally what I do for networking. I have a little audience on LinkedIn. Whenever I really want to meet someone, and even if I met Justin Bieber, I would do the exact same thing to him, which I do want to meet him, oh my God. I would go up to him. He probably wouldn't care because he probably doesn't have a LinkedIn account. Someone check on that, please. I would go up to him and I'd be like, let me profile you. I just want to get your story. I'll write the narrative and I'll share it out to you. Maybe not Justin Bieber, but someone, you know, lower level, even any executive in Toronto who might not have a big following will feel so happy that you decided to take some time and spotlight their story.
Now, keep in mind I was still broke at this point. So I had about a $20 budget. And I used that to go out and I got a few things. I got a tripod from Amazon. I got a camera remote. I got a tiny whiteboard, which I used to write things that were inspiring me, and I would share them online. And I got a notebook, and I would share any sort of experiences that I was having throughout the day that I thought other people could relate with. And then I started going to work. I was sharing photo updates on LinkedIn, and I started talking about things that nobody else really seemed to be talking about. So things like maintaining confidence throughout the job search, fear of failure, job interviews gone terribly wrong, and even harassment in the business world. Now, over the past 2 years, I've also had a really good time. I've had a lot of great campaigns, fun campaigns, like my hashtag mug museum. So what I did is I had this rickety old bookcase. And so I asked people to send me in their business mugs, and then what I would do was share their story with my network, which seemed pretty cool if I got like 5 a day, but I ended up having to cut it really short because I ended up filling up 2 bookcases full of business mugs, and I was spending more time on the phone with FedEx and actually doing my job.
So I didn't know what to do. I was stuck in that excuse mode again. Or I was looking at myself in the mirror saying, Anthony, you weren't good enough to play baseball, but you found a way. Now I was stuck saying, Anthony, you're not good enough to work in finance. Who cares about your degree? There's 200,000 other kids with the same degree as you. So what did I do? I took that same approach, that sliding in the DMs, that emailing, that LinkedIn, that Facebook, any way I can reach out to people. But it didn't work because my colleagues, my peers had more experience. So what I did was I knew that I had an advantage playing baseball. So I put out an ad to everybody in the GTA that I would coach their kids for free in baseball for 2 months. 600 parents responded to that email. 600, and every single one of them I followed up with. Because in my eyes, that was over 1,000 combined parents that I can tell my story to. And I can tell them that, listen, I just recently graduated in finance. I don't have any experience, but I will do whatever it takes to succeed at your company. And one guy gave me an opportunity.
That contact center experience within both organizations, both sales and service, is what led me into my first executive role. I was 24 years old. I stepped into a role for an outsourced contact center BPO environment as their COO and general manager. And you know, I often tell people, fake it till you make it, because I did. I'd gone from running operations to now running everything except for finance, reporting directly to me. 1,500 person organization, multiple union environments within there, and having accountability for a very massive P&L. So I was scared shitless to say the least, but since you all came here to see Gary B, I know you're going to be fine with me swearing, which I do like a trucker. My son's first 2 words that he put together were, oh shit, at age 11 months. Thanks to me. So scared shitless in that environment, you know, but, you know, I'm a person who, again, fakes it till I make it, you know, this great, steely sort of confidence, but underneath I'm, you know, going, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And did it, and I learned a lot about running businesses, and it's what sort of spearheaded me, you know, beyond that to continue to look to grow my corporate career.
So I think with that being said, I would just encourage you all to take at least 1 to 3 actions in the next week or so based on today. Lots of inspiration, lots of knowledge, lots of connections. So let's go.
Thanks everyone, have a great night.
Alright, so that was Generation Now, Haste and Hustle 2018. We made it, we stuck it out the whole day through, and it was worth it. Was it worth it? That means it was worth it. That means it was worth it, baby. That look means it was worth it. Did you guys have a good time?
Oh yeah. Yeah? I mean, yeah? I have nothing to compare it to because I've never been to
It's your first time?
So it's awesome.
But it was good. You'd go to something like that again. Yeah. So did I, pretty much. Yeah. Supercharged. Still a little sick. But, you know, I want to work. I want to get better, be healthier, and get to work. And, you know, work on the things that I feel like I'm lacking, which would be networking. I would also say networking. What else? Oh, cold calling. I think that the message of today was just going out, knocking on doors, cold calling, and being persistent, and just, you know, contacting hundreds of people per day.
No excuses.
No excuses. No excuses, man. I think that's what it's been about. On that note, I think I will conclude this episode of Mxxnlightfinn is awesome. And yeah. Until next time, guys. Hustle. Do your thing. No excuses. Here we go. Let's go. Bam.